What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. If you are a Dallas Cowboys fan, buckle up because today we have some massive news to break down regarding the Cowboys defensive coordinator search. And trust me, this is getting more interesting by the hour. If you haven't already, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell notification so you never miss any Cowboys content because we are covering everything as it happens in real time. Now let's dive right into this because there is a lot to unpack and I know you guys have been waiting for answers just like I have. So, as we all know, the Dallas Cowboys have been in a bit of a transitional phase on the defensive side of the ball, and the big question on every Cowboys fan's mind has been who is going to be the next defensive coordinator. This is arguably one of the most important coaching decisions that Jerry Jones and the Cowboys front office will make, because defense has been such a critical part of this team's identity over the past few seasons. We saw what a dominant defense can do for this team, and we also saw what happens when things start to fall apart on that side of the ball. So getting this hire right is absolutely crucial, and it seems like the Cowboys are doing their due diligence in a major way. Now here is where things get really exciting because one name that has been generating a ton of buzz in Cowboys circles is Jim Leonhard. If you don't know who Jim Leonhard is, let me give you a quick breakdown because this guy has one of the most fascinating coaching resumes in recent memory. Jim Leonhard was a standout safety in the NFL, playing for multiple teams, including the Buffalo Bills, the Baltimore Ravens, the New York Jets, the Denver Broncos, and the Cleveland Browns. He wasn't the biggest guy on the field, he wasn't the fastest guy on the field, but what he lacked in physical tools, he more than made up for with his football IQ and his ability to read offenses like a book. That intelligence that he showed as a player has translated beautifully into his coaching career, and that is exactly why the Dallas Cowboys should be paying very close attention to him. After his playing career ended, Jim Leonhard transitioned into coaching, and he quickly made a name for himself at the University of Wisconsin. He became the defensive coordinator for the Badgers, and what he did there was nothing short of remarkable. Under his leadership, Wisconsin's defense became one of the best in all of college football. We're talking about a defense that was consistently ranked in the top 10 nationally in multiple categories. They were dominant against the run, they were stingy against the pass, and they played with an intensity and a discipline that you rarely see at the college level. Jim Leonhard turned Wisconsin into a defensive powerhouse, and he did it by emphasizing fundamentals, sound technique, and putting his players in the best possible positions to succeed. That is exactly the kind of coaching philosophy that the Dallas Cowboys need right now. Now, let me tell you why Jim Leonhard is such an intriguing candidate for this Dallas Cowboys defensive coordinator position. First and foremost, his scheme versatility is off the charts. He is not a one-trick pony. He can run multiple defensive fronts, he can disguise coverages, he can bring pressure from creative angles, and he can adapt his game plan based on the opponent. In today's NFL, where offenses are more complex and more diverse than ever before, you need a defensive coordinator who can adjust on the fly, and Jim Leonhard has shown time and time again that he can do exactly that. He is not going to be the kind of coordinator who gets stuck in one scheme and refuses to change. He is going to evolve, he is going to adapt, and he is going to give opposing offensive coordinators nightmares trying to figure out what he's going to throw at them next. The second reason why Jim Leonhard makes so much sense for the Cowboys is his ability to develop talent. Look at what he did at Wisconsin. He took players who were not necessarily five-star recruits, and he turned them into NFL-caliber defenders. He has a gift for coaching up players and maximizing their potential, and that is something that the Dallas Cowboys desperately need. The Cowboys have a roster that is filled with talented players on the defensive side of the ball, but talent alone is not enough. You need a coach who can unlock that talent and get the most out of every single player on the roster. Jim Leonhard has proven that he can do that, and if he can replicate what he did at Wisconsin at the NFL level, the Cowboys' defense could be absolutely terrifying. Now, let's talk about some of the latest intel that has been coming out regarding the Cowboys' defensive coordinator search, because there have been some really interesting developments over the past few days. According to multiple reports, the Cowboys have been casting a wide net in their search for a new defensive coordinator. They have been reaching out to candidates from both the NFL and the college ranks, and they are leaving no stone unturned. This tells me that Jerry Jones and the Cowboys front office understand just how important this hire is, and they are not going to rush into a decision. They want to make sure they get the right guy for the job, and I respect that approach, even though I know it can be frustrating for us fans who just want answers. One of the things that has been reported is that the Cowboys are looking for a defensive coordinator who can bring a fresh perspective to the defense. They want someone who is innovative, someone who is creative, and someone who is not afraid to think outside the box. This is a clear indication that the Cowboys are ready to move in a new direction defensively, and Jim Leonhard fits that description perfectly. He is known for his creative play, calling his ability to scheme up pressure, and his willingness to take calculated risks on defense. He is exactly the kind of fresh voice that the Cowboys need in that defensive coordinator role. Another interesting piece of intel that has come out is that the Cowboys are placing a heavy emphasis on finding a defensive coordinator who is a strong communicator. They want someone who can connect with players on a personal level and who can clearly articulate the defensive game plan. This is so important because the best defensive coordinators in the NFL are not just great schemers, they are also great teachers and great communicators. They can break down complex concepts and make them simple for their players to understand. Jim Leonhard has been praised throughout his coaching career for his communication skills and his ability to connect with his players. His players at Wisconsin loved playing for him, and they consistently talked about how he made the defense easy to understand, while still keeping it complex enough to confuse opposing offenses. That is a rare skill set, and it is exactly what the Cowboys should be looking for. Now I want to address something that I know a lot of Cowboys fans have been thinking about, and that is the question of whether Jim Leonhard can make the jump from college football to the NFL. It's a fair question because the transition from college to the pros is not always smooth for coaches. The game is faster, the players are smarter, and the margin for error is much smaller at the NFL level. However, I believe that Jim Leonhard is uniquely qualified to make that jump for several reasons. First, he has NFL experience as a player. He spent years in NFL locker rooms, and he understands the culture and the demands of professional football. Second, his defensive scheme at Wisconsin was not some gimmicky college scheme that wouldn't translate to the pros. He ran a pro-style defense that emphasized many of the same concepts and principles that are used in the NFL. Third, and perhaps most importantly, he has the intelligence and the work ethic to succeed at any level of football. This is a guy who was told throughout his career that he wasn't big enough or fast enough to play in the NFL, and he proved everyone wrong. He has that same chip on his shoulder as a coach, and I believe he would thrive in the NFL. Let's also talk about what Jim Leonhard would potentially do with the Cowboys' current defensive roster, because this is where things get really exciting. The Cowboys have some serious talent on defense. You look at a player like Micah Parsons, who is one of the most dynamic edge rushers in the entire NFL, and you start to imagine what a creative defensive mind like Jim Leonhard could do with him. Leonhard is known for moving his best players around and using them in different roles and positions to create mismatches. Can you imagine Micah Parsons in a Jim Leonhard defense where he's lining up at multiple positions on every single play? Offensive linemen would have no idea where the pressure is coming from, and that would create chaos for opposing quarterbacks. And it's not just Micah Parsons. The Cowboys have talented players throughout their defense, and Jim Leonhard would know exactly how to utilize each and every one of them. He would put players in positions to succeed, and he would create a defensive identity that this team can hang its hat on week in and week out. That consistency and that identity on defense is something that the Cowboys have been searching for, and I believe Jim Leonhard could be the guy to provide it. Now, I also want to talk about some of the other candidates who have been mentioned in connection with the Cowboys' defensive coordinator job, because it's important that we look at the full picture. There have been reports linking the Cowboys to several other coaches, and each one brings something different to the table. However, when you compare the full package of what Jim Leonhard brings versus some of these other candidates, it's hard not to see him as the front-runner in this race. His combination of scheme versatility, player development skills, communication ability, and NFL playing experience makes him one of the most well-rounded candidates available, and I think the Cowboys would be making a huge mistake if they don't seriously consider him for this position. I also want to point out that the timing of this search is absolutely critical. The NFL coaching carousel moves fast, and the best candidates get snatched up quickly. The Cowboys need to be aggressive in their pursuit of the right defensive coordinator, and they can't afford to drag this process out too long. Every day that goes by without a decision is a day that the new defensive coordinator isn't installing his scheme, isn't building relationships with players, and isn't preparing for the upcoming season. Time is of the essence, and I hope the Cowboys understand that. Let me also touch on what this defensive coordinator hire means for the Cowboys' overall trajectory as a team. The Cowboys have been a playoff team in recent years, but they have struggled to get over the hump and make a deep postseason run. One of the reasons for that has been the defense's inability to perform at its best when it matters most. A new defensive coordinator who can bring a fresh perspective and elevate this defense could be the missing piece that pushes the Cowboys from a good team to a great team. This is not just about hiring a coordinator, this is about changing the trajectory of the entire franchise, and that is why this decision is so important. Now, here is something else that I find really fascinating about this whole situation. If you look at the recent history of the NFL, many of the most successful defensive coordinators in the league have come from non-traditional backgrounds. We've seen coordinators come from the college ranks and immediately make an impact at the NFL level. We've seen coordinators who were relatively unknown before getting their shot and then turning into some of the best defensive minds in football. Jim Leonhard fits that mold perfectly. He may not be the biggest name on the coaching market, but he has the skills, the intelligence, and the track record to be an elite defensive coordinator in the NFL. Sometimes the best hires are not the splashy headline-grabbing hires. Sometimes the best hires are the ones that make the most sense on paper, and Jim Leonhard makes a whole lot of sense for the Dallas Cowboys. Before I wrap up, I want to hear from you guys in the comments section. What do you think about Jim Leonhard as a potential defensive coordinator for the Dallas Cowboys? Do you think he's the right guy for the job, or would you prefer someone else? I'm genuinely curious to hear your thoughts because I know Cowboys fans are some of the most passionate and knowledgeable fans in all of sports. Drop your comments below, and let's get a conversation going. I also want to remind you guys that this is a developing story, and we are going to be covering every single update as it happens. So if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, now is the time to do it. We are your one-stop shop for all things Dallas Cowboys, and we are committed to bringing you the latest news, the hottest takes, and the most in-depth analysis that you will find anywhere on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and share this video with every Cowboys fan, because we are building something special here, and I want all of you to be a part of it. So to sum it all up, the Dallas Cowboys defensive coordinator search is in full swing, and Jim Leonhard is emerging as one of the most intriguing candidates for the position. His scheme versatility, his player development skills, his communication ability, and his NFL playing experience make him a perfect fit for this Cowboys defense. The Cowboys have the talent on the roster to be an elite defense, and they just need the right coordinator to unlock that potential. Jim Leonhard could be that guy, and if the Cowboys are smart, they will seriously consider bringing him in to lead this defense. The stakes could not be higher for the Dallas Cowboys right now. This defensive coordinator hire is going to go a long way in determining whether the Cowboys can finally get over the hump and make a deep playoff run. The fans are hungry for success, the players are hungry for success, and the organization is hungry for success. The right defensive coordinator can be the catalyst that brings all of those elements together and creates something special in Dallas. I believe that Jim Leonhard has the potential to be that catalyst, and I hope the Cowboys feel the same way. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. I truly appreciate each and every one of you who takes the time to watch these videos and engage with this content. This channel would be nothing without you guys, and I am grateful for your support. As always, stay tuned for more Cowboys content, because we have a lot more coming your way in the days and weeks ahead. Until next time, keep believing in this team, keep supporting this team, and let's go Cowboys. Peace out, everybody, and I will see you in the next one.